sure it's... Yep.
Hi, this is John Berger, and I'm happy to be here with Matt Patella and Alan Herman and a bunch of friends here, a bunch of drummer friends, and just going to talk today a little bit about one of my teachers, the great Gary Chester. Many of you are probably familiar with his book, New Breed, which was actually put out after Gary passed on, but it's 100% accurate and portrayal of Gary's wonderful systems. What's amazing about Gary's system is that it enables not only accuracy on the drum set and improves your coordination, but Gary's concept was, I think in a way, it was focused on a little bit more advanced drummers. We've all grown up with the traditional system of counting and subdividing rhythms, and counting in 4/4, for example, 1 2 3 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Gary's system was developed to help you organically feel rhythm, sense rhythm, know where the time is at any given moment, and also enable you to open up your ears, not only have the coordination to play figures while you're playing in time, but be able to understand what's going on around you in a band. Gary was one of the top session drummers for years, 50s and 60s, on thousands of records. In a sense, he was like the Steve Gadd of his day. And he came up with this idea in the studio because very often he'd be handed lead sheets, maybe a bass part, for example. And the clock was running. There's very little time to record whatever the track was. So he'd be playing a part, listening to music for the first time, watching a bass part, and he had to come up with a drum part that went with it. So he started to come up with this concept of singing what he was looking at. So if he was looking at a bass part, he'd be playing along, and he would be singing the bass part, and he realized by doing that, he was able to find parts that fit. He was able to line up his body, and it was a very organic process. So over the years, he kind of started to write things down. He developed a system. So the first step, which is actually a little bit counterintuitive to most drummers, is rather than counting 1 2 3 4, he has you sing the syllable ta, 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 ta. So one of the things you have to train yourselves to do when you're doing the system is to not count, and to stop yourself from counting and to sing. And it's very interesting what happens, because you, in a much more organic way, you start to feel the pulse, the quarter note to start with. We're singing ta. So I'll give you an example. I'm just going to play a straight pattern of 16th notes on the hi-hat, 1 and 3 on the bass drum, 2 and 4 on the snare drum, and I'm going to sing the quarter note. Thinking about this system and how I've used it and working with students, I found that there's a big difference when you're learning music and you're counting. There's nothing wrong with that system. It's very important, and I highly recommend it, and I have my students do it. But I think it's good to do both, because I find when I'm counting, trying to figure something out, what I play ends up immediate. The first step is what I've learned to play comes out very mechanical. I'm going for accuracy, of course, but then I have to take a second step and make it sing, make it musical. So, again, the great thing with Gary's approach is that you're immediately feeling a pulse by singing it, using your voice, your natural voice. You're much more relaxed, and you feel so that's the first step. Okay, so in his book, which we were talking about this before New Breed was established, we used the Ralph Pace book. Matt, Variations of Drumming by Ralph Pace. And a lot of syncopated patterns in this book. I mean, that's kind of the overall purpose of that book is reading and playing syncopated rhythms, 8th notes, 16th notes, 32nd notes, and various permutations. But so Gary would have us read out of that book the rhythms, which are all in his book. Okay. So the first step is using the bass drum. So starting this, with a simple pattern of 16th notes in the hi-hat, 2 and 4 in the snare drum, we would read what he would call the melody line. So we're going to start with, this is page 14 in New Breed. I'm going to read the first line with my bass drum, but I'm also, it's now the 5th limb. It's 5-way independence. I'm now going to sing the quarter note on top of that. Okay? So when you do this, I recommend you do it very slowly, and like you break down any kind of drumming, like do it maybe one measure at a time, one beat at a time until you get it. It takes time. So I'm going to try my best. I haven't done this in a while. So that's really like the first step of Gary's system, which you know, you could try this with any one single line snare drum part, something out of stick control perhaps, or you know, any book you have that's like a little bit more straight ahead pattern. Try reading with your bass drum. Then the next more advanced level, once you get that down, is to play quarter notes in the bass drum and sing the melody line. Okay, I'm going to slow it down just a little bit. Okay, so those are two pretty. Doesn't sound like much, but you know, give it a try. Recommend doing it slowly. Okay, and then there are various ways that you can mix this up. He always used to have us have a floor tom on the left, a floor tom on the right, and basically just keep switching it up. Melody line on the bass drum, always singing quarter notes. Melody line on the snare drum. Melody line with your left hand on the floor tom. Okay, then a third variation, a third system is to sing offbeat, 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and ta 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 ta. So I'm going to give that a try. The top line.
That's really hard, John.
Yeah, so, you know, give it a try. It's a fantastic book. New Breed, this is the first book. There are actually two. This is The New Breed by Gary Chester. It's a wonderful system. Give it a try. And one thing I want to add that is great with this, as I said before, the whole reason that Gary established this is to be able to hear what's going on around you. Very often, you're playing in a band, and they'll come in with a new arrangement, and they'll say it's funk, for example, but you can't quite find a part. Rather than just trying to force a part in there or record it and go back, try to lock in with the bass player. Try to sing the bass line or sing part of the bass line. You know, just stop playing and listen to the bass part. Try to sing the bass part. Same thing we're doing here. That's the melody line. It's really going to help you find a part that fits. It's really going to help you lock in with the bass player as opposed to just playing on top of the music. So, yeah, have fun with it. Take your time and, yeah. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everybody.